everyone, and welcome to another interview on Human. Today, we will be interviewing Kenny Mercer, the owner of Full Blast Booking, a booking agency that has recently started tours that are dedicated to mental health awareness as well as suicide prevention. Today, we will be finding out his story and his experiences. We'll be bringing him on right now. Hey, what's going on? How you doing?
Good man, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. The way you showed up was cool, man. That was cool. Very animated. I wanted to also say, excuse me for butchering the beginning. Excuse me for that, man. Um,
I was actually trying to join the live. I didn't even hear it. So
oh, okay.
I'm
No
still
problem.
old,
Yeah.
man, when it comes to this social media stuff. I don't even know what to do with this. I figured it out though.
You know what's so funny? I actually have a great question that will cater to that, but I want to first start off the interview by you please introducing yourself to the audience for those who don't know you.
Yeah, man, my name's Kenny. Kenny Mercer. I own and operate Full Blast Booking and Tour for Life, annual mental health charity tour. Um, I'm a musician as well, hip hop artist. I go by the name of Deuce Bug. And yeah,
Amazing. Nice. Where were you born and raised, if you don't mind me asking?
Norwalk, Connecticut, and then I lived in Bridgeport, Connecticut for 6 years or so.
Interesting. Are you familiar with Stapleton, Connecticut?
No,
Or Hartford,
Stapleton.
Connecticut?
Yeah, I
I
know
might,
Hartford.
okay, I might be getting it wrong. Excuse me with Stapleton. That might be a different area that I'm reflecting on. But I am familiar with Hartford, Connecticut. I had a adopted brother that stayed out there. So very
Word.
interesting. How did um your upbringing, or excuse me, where you were born and raised, how did that impact your upbringing, especially concerning hip hop and the impact that it had on you?
Man, we all grew up with hip hop, you know. I grew up with a few different genres of music, you know, constantly playing in my life, punk rock as well as hip hop, um, classic rock, you know, it's influence from my parents and from my peers and older brother and sisters, and always gravitated towards the genres of music that came from the streets, spoke from a place of, you know, struggle in a way, that the genres that had to fight for their acceptance, like
Mhm,
punk, you know, like hip hop.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, but yeah, I love all genres of music, man.
Interesting. Who would you say is your favorite hip hop artist?
Sean Price.
Son Price. Okay, nice. And why? If you don't mind me asking.
Bars, bars, the meanest bar spitter in the world.
Nice, nice. All right, so I'm going to bring this up early actually because I'm kind of excited to speak about it. I see that you worked with CL Smooth. I am an avid fan of his music. I still listen to it nowadays, on a regular basis. You know, it's like I think that he was underrated for his time, to be honest with you, especially with what he was putting forth within his music. I don't know him as a person, but he seems like he's a wholesome dude. I follow him on Instagram, and just really like what he's been doing in terms of staying relevant actually nowadays and joining different movements such as yours to help push awareness in certain areas of life. So that's one thing I could
Yeah,
definitely
he was
say.
a great dude, man. Great guy, and obviously, you know, a legendary hip hop artist, and you know, super talented, but just a great dude.
Amazing, amazing. Um, when did you grow up? Did you grow up in the 80s?
I was born in '83, so I mean, depends on what you consider growing up. I pretty much grew up in the '90s. You know, that's when I was like turning 10 or so. You know,
Got you.
in those years, yeah, when I started like getting into music, I was probably like 12, 13 years old. Um, Getting into sports and all of that, you know, too. So, um, yeah, I consider growing up those years, you know, not when you're like a baby.
100%. Yeah, definitely the teenage years. Because I had a question here that was like, what was it like growing up in the 80s? But I was like, I didn't know how old you were. I knew that you had connected with a lot lot of cats that were, growing up in that age, in that at that time. Actually, I feel like, and so
Yeah,
their experiences are probably drastically different. But I could shift the question to what was it like growing up in the '90s, listening to music, going out, having amazing times, connecting with people in person. Can you give us that feel?
it was a lot different than it is now, man. There was no social media. We didn't even have cell phones back then, like it was we were outside literally. They say it nowadays, but they don't even know what outside means. If you're over the age of 30, you know what it means to be outside. So
Yes, I
we
do.
didn't have computers, we didn't have apps, all that, you know what I mean? So connecting with human beings, that's what it was like growing up in those eras. We had no choice, you know what I mean? So the community aspect of everything that I do now and it brought with me to Full Blast, it, absolutely came from my childhood, and I've always kind of operated under the umbrella of thought that it takes a village, you know what I mean?
Mm, I think that's something that's being denied nowadays, right? That it takes a village to raise it's the old saying is it takes a village to raise a kid,
Right.
but we're living in a society that I feel like is individualistic. It pushes that hyper individualism, like me. I can do
Yeah.
this, and to be honest with you, that's not so, right? I have a team that helps me with human. I'm pretty sure you have a team that helps you with full blast. You know, um, it takes more than
Absolutely.
one person to get to where they're going. So what I wanted to also ask is, outside of social media, what was different about about the way people interacted back in the day compared to how we interact now? What is something that you think you could point at?
One thing that I noticed with social media, when it became popular was you had a lot more people thinking they could just do that. It was kind of like a little bit of delusion with a lot of folks because it was like, back then it was like 50 Cent has a MySpace page, so I could have a MySpace page and I could put my music on there just like him. And like with hip hop, the technology of it where you doesn't really take much to record music, you know what I mean? People are doing it in their bedrooms, on their computers, they're not even going to studios no more. That's kind of what I saw with it. And then the social media aspect was like you post a song and you get some comments on it or some likes, and now the delusion of I'm a popular hip hop artist, you know what I mean? And it's like, man, it takes a lot more work than that. You know what I mean? It takes a lot more work than that. So it's obviously social media is such a staple of life these days that we've figured out ways to navigate around that, and I think it's tamed itself a little bit over time, because people just kind of know the BS at this point. You know what I mean? You know when somebody's fronting on social media, so you just kind of ignore it, and it is what it is. But there was a time when social media was coming to be where it was like an epidemic of a lot of things. Like fake news and and this and that. Now we're just like, yeah, that's fake. You know what I mean? But like there's an evolution to all these things, and like the evolution of social media in the first place like kind of just made it easy to be a rapper when it's not, you know what I mean? And so that needed to kind of be filtered out over time, and it has.
Mm, amazing. One thing I wanted to say was also social media, I think it brings people together. Like that's how I'm able to interview you now. But
Exactly.
it also, I feel like, separates people depending on how they use it. Like we're always looking in comparison to another person and how their life is going rather than what we're actually doing in our lives too, right?
Yeah.
And then that comparison causes this disconnect with oneself, not only with oneself, but it also causes a disconnect where you feel like you don't fit into certain things just because another person may be doing it a certain way, right? I think that's the difficulty of social media too. Go ahead.
That reminds me of Chic Luch. We booked in Connecticut not too long ago for a Tour for Life fundraiser, and it came time for him to say a few words about mental health, and he did, and then he shifted into and stay the fuck off social media, man. Like, like that will mess with your head too. You know what I mean?
Mm,
Like he made a joke and said something like, "Oh, um, she really drank that tea and looked like that. So you got all these chicks trying to do the same. And honestly, I don't even know what he's talking about, but it's true. It's just like what you just said. You know, people are always living that comparison life. You know what I mean? And trying to, they see everybody else moving, so they want to move like that. And going back to before what you asked me, when you grow up without social media, when you grow up in the, you know, in the 90s like I did, you
Mm.
you know, you have to kind of establish that on your own. You know what I mean? You have to be your own person. You have to do your own thing. If you're copying somebody, you're doing it because you're doing it in person, not because you see them online and you think you got to do this. And, you know, social media took the term trendy to a whole nother level, you know, and that's obviously why they use that term and say, oh, this is trending. You know, back when I was like 12, 13 years old, it was like, don't be trendy, don't be trendy, you know, and it was before social media even existed. So it's interesting that the evolution of that, you know what I mean?
Wow, I didn't know that. That's like it just switched out, huh? Now it's cool to be trending and everybody wants to be trending.
Word.
You're doing everything to
I,
trend. But
I remember I
before,
was
I
in a,
was against the grain.
yeah, so I was in a hardcore band when I was like, I don't know, 13 or so. We were like little kids, you know what I mean? And we all wrote down our goals on a piece of paper as a band. Like, what do we want to accomplish as a band? And we all, literally all of us wrote, don't be trendy on the paper. That was like a mission statement back then. Don't be trendy.
Wow. Mm-mm-mm. What do you think it's possible to, in the age of social media, to be trendy based on something that really means something for humanity in a positive way? Because I see a lot
Well,
of trends that are like
yeah.
they're not mm, they're not so healthy, is what I'm going to say. You know, I feel like it's just mimicking. You might want to do a dance, and I'm not against people who are doing dance TikToks and doing, you know, I'm not against that. I'm not getting at those people at all. I have just met a young fella who's great at it. Okay, but when I'm scrolling through social media and finding people to bring on to Human for an interview, I run across a lot of just stuff that I'm like, okay, no, I don't really need this. I don't really need this. But then I also run across people who are doing great things. But in my opinion, they're not trending as much as the people who are doing
Oh,
things
never,
that,
never.
yeah.
You post something positive, you know, you're always going to get less, you know, interaction than, you know, something dumb and that's just popular at the moment. I do that like once in a while, especially on Facebook, because it seems like that algorithm is popping over there. But like
It
they
is.
separate the positive stuff from the really dumb stuff. And so I'll make a comment about something that I know is going to get engagement just to kind of trigger that algorithm once in a while, just because, you know, I feel like Facebook especially is dead. You know what I mean? So like I don't I'm way better on Instagram with engagement, you know, with what we post. So like I made a post the other day about Eminem, or about, did I say yeah, Eminem. And like, yeah, of course I got like 37 comments within like, you know, half an hour. It's like, I don't remember last time I had this much engagement on a Facebook post. And I hope all you people are ready to come support Tour for Life. You know what I mean? Because I post a lot of very positive things that help the community, and you guys are nowhere to be seen. But I post something about Eminem, and you're all over it. Like,
I love it. I love it. I want to say that I go through the same thing. But little tidbit, I feel that Facebook is actually, I don't know, the algorithm is pretty high right now. I will say that me posting certain things on Facebook, like I post several reels for Human as of late, and it has actually been taking off a bit. You know, I've noticed a jump in the numbers and a little jump in my followers, right, on my Facebook page. But there's so many levels to what engagement looks like, and making sure the engagement is authentic is the word I'm looking for. You know, authentic, making sure that when they're engaging, they're getting something not only from the content, but they're also engaging in a way that they're commenting, and you know that they understood what was being presented in front of them. You
right,
know, so I think that's
right.
very important. Um, in your opinion, how can we preserve the way we used to connect in person in the modern age with so much social media, you know, taking the forefront?
I really don't know how, man, to be honest with you, because, you know, I don't know if Full Blast is considered something that is actually doing that, or if we're too, we're too small time to be even considered for that. Because I don't know, but that is always what we try to do, is exist in real life, and be there for each other in the physical, and it's not all about online. And when it comes to music, especially, and working with indie musicians, you know, I I understand. I identify with the ones that want to come out in person and do this in real life. And
Mm,
then you got the ones that just want to be in cipher videos and just want to do the thing online and do the, they don't want to actually like go out and, be about building a fan base, building a following, building your resume and your whole career as an artist, because you're doing it in person. And one thing that I've known about music, any genre of music, really for a while now, since record labels have been pretty obsolete, is you got to tour. You know what I mean? You got to do shows. That's the only way to build anything. Nobody's
mm,
their record stores don't exist anymore. You know what I mean? Nobody's buying
mm,
music like that. And the ones that are looking for it on social media and supporting like that, like the people that have, online radio shows that are supporting underground artists, good for them, man. Shout out my boy
mm,
Regular Cat who
mm,
does that. Shout out
mm,
to I know a few people that do that, you know what I mean? And that's great, but they're few and far between, man. You know what I mean? If you really want to
mm,
connect with people like that, you need to tour. That's where you have an audience in front of you. You need to do shows and travel out of your comfort zone in your own area. You know what I mean?
mhm.
That's what I've always believed in. So that's to answer your question. That is what I do to try to preserve that.
Amazing. I heard you say something that I really want to highlight. And it surrounds in my head. It's a question that I'm formulating that goes around impact, right? When you was like, we don't know if we're really like preserving that in that way, we might be too little. And I was like, well, what is your understanding of impact then? Like,
Impact. I know we've done that. You know what I mean? There's no
mhm,
question that, impacting the communities that we do connect with has been a huge success. What I meant was on the grand scale of, social media. You know what I mean? How many people we're actually reaching with what we're doing? It's a build.
mm,
And, my 5-year plan um, for Full Blast Booking, has been impressive, and I've absolutely exceeded, my expectations and projections to where I'd be as a company, and that is 100% because of Tour for Life, and it's definitely catapulted things the last few years. So we're just gonna, just stay on that track and try to keep doing what we're doing. You know what I mean? And hopefully one day we'll be major like that. You know what I mean? And more so than an artist blowing up, that kind of mentality. It's
mhm,
this is the company. You know what I mean? I know there's talented artists all over the country. You know what I mean? And we work with so many of them, but there's so many more. And I just want to build and build Tour for Life and get it to be where, it's something that, not just our niche and our circles can look forward to,
mm,
but something that the whole country can look forward to, like a Warp Tour was, or like a Rock the Bells was, or something like that. You know what I mean?
amazing. I love the
And the only
passion.
difference is I want to do it for the independent artists too. You know what I mean? It was always like, yeah, we're going to Rock the Bells. You know what I mean? It's not we're performing on rock. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I want to make it so the talented artists that deserve those stages can be on those stages.
Mm, 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 mm. I love the passion in which you exude. It's amazing to sit here and watch. Yes, sir, I do. I do, man. Reminds me a lot of myself. What was one thing you learned about life through hip hop?
What's one thing I didn't learn about life through? I've learned everything I know. Uh,
Well,
you
what's the
know,
most like if there was one thing that you could pass down to your seed, what would that be?
that one thing I have passed down to my seed is that music and the content of music has changed over time.
Hmm.
And where you like, okay, so my son told me like he listens to a lot of drill, right? And I was like, oh my God, no. And I told him, I was like, look, I grew up with rappers talking about selling crack and killing people and shooting people, all that, you know what I mean? But it was, for lack of a better term, it was artistic. It was gun bars are just that, and I feel like it's all about intent and perception, right? What was the perception of artists like Raekwon and Ghostface talking about this back when I was growing up, right? It
Mhm.
was to describe their environment. It was to describe what they've seen and what they've gone through and what they've lived too, right? But it was not to, and this comes in the intent part, it was not to try to convince people to do that. They weren't promoting going out and selling crack and killing people. They were just talking about the reality of it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it wasn't trying to convince anybody that they were really doing that. It was, when I say drug bars or gun bars, it's being creative in a way of cleverly, you know what I'm saying, talking about that. And that is artistic and that is poetic, you know what I mean? And the difference between what you hear about a lot of this drill stuff is the intent, and
Mhm.
the perception is that they are promoting this gang violence and they are trying to prove that they actually are involved in it. You know what I mean? And that's the
Mhm.
difference. And that's what I told my son. Like, you need to respect the artistic value of things. You know what I mean? And even if they are talking because they know about it firsthand, are they talking about it artistically or are they promoting it? You know what I mean? And he actually was like, wow, okay, cool. So like, and he told me the other day, like, he's been listening to a lot more lyrical music. And I was like, that's a win. You know what I mean? Because he understood what I was saying. And the problem with this, like, boom, we just had a beautiful venue that was scheduled for Tour for Life. They're closing down because there was a shooting there after a drill show. And it's all you hear about, with this new kind of music, and it's
Mhm.
disappointing. You know what I mean? Because it's easy as an old head to be like, oh, it's whack. They don't have bars. Blah, blah, blah. But for me, it's like it it's it's poison. You know what I mean? It's not
Mhm.
helping anybody. It's not helping their community. They're not shedding light on anything. They're just promoting violence, really, and it's not good, in my opinion. But the
Mhm.
beats are hot, right? Or whatever.
I really like the way you went into depth there. We had a campfire session here on Human that spoke about that, which was called Sonic Alchemy, how frequencies affect the human body, and how, when the frequencies impact the human body, what it's kind of telling you to do in a subconscious state, right? So it's very interesting that you say that after a drill event, there was a shooting, right? Now let me ask you a question just to dive a little deeper. Do you think that there was correlation between the two? The music and the
It
action that
depends
took
on what
place.
you consider a correlation. You know what I mean?
Mm,
I think that kind of, I sound so old, right? And I sound like such an old man yelling at clouds, right? But like, nah, I do think that kind of stuff will attract some knuckleheads,
mm,
and you can make the argument that those same knuckleheads were into the music that we were into, you know what I mean? But um, and that's why I stick to the demographic of people in their 30s to their 50s that like that era of music, because they're all older now. You know what I mean? They're not trying to go out looking for a problem. You know what I mean? And it's really all love. You know what I mean? Because we kind of all agree that we've all been through a lot,
mm,
and that's not really what we're looking for no more. We're not looking for problems. We just want to chill out. We just want to support each other, support our community, and vibe out to really dope music. You know what I mean? And honestly, I can't even relate to the whole drill thing or whatever to even speak on it. You know what I mean? But like I said, I think that I've been in those kind of environments, even with, like I said, even with the music that we listen to, you know what I mean? Where there's violence, this or that. I've been to it at hardcore shows and metal shows, violence, in the mosh pits and fights and everything, but as people get older, they're not going out on
looking
a
for that.
Friday night looking for that anymore. You know what I mean? That they don't need to prove themselves anymore. They're not about that life no more. And I think that's why at this state and time, this place and time right now, Tour for Life is hitting. It's hitting because people can agree on that.
Mm. Mm. When did your journey as a solo rapper begin, and what was that like? That's interesting.
Um, Gosh, it was mid 2000s,
Mm.
and yeah, it was definitely a journey, from like when I really got kind of popular in 2009 or so, 2010, which was like when I say popular, I mean like locally around Connecticut. We started doing shows and they were popping, like people were coming out. It was a lot of fun. And once we kind of mastered that and we're doing shows all over the state, we started traveling, and that's when my love for traveling and booking tours started, because I was booking tours for myself, because I had opened for like everybody at Toad's Place in Webster Theater in Hartford and all these national acts that have come through. I opened for them. So I went from that to headlining my own shows in smaller venues. And once all those had kind of felt like that had been mastered and done, I moved on to other states. And that's when I realized, like, you have to travel for this. The support that you get in other markets farther away from your own is real, and you can only work
Mm.
so hard in your own state. Then everybody sees you moving for years. You become, yeah, that's Deuce, or yeah, that's this guy or that guy. You know what I mean? We've seen him before. You got to stay fresh, and you got to keep exploring different markets and different networks, and just kind of staying stagnant in your own state, in your own city even, is just not productive. It's, you're not gonna see the results that I know all these artists want to see. And it's almost like it's kind of the opposite of what you'd think. It's like, oh, I don't want to travel several hours for a show. I got no fans over there. I don't know nobody there. I can't sell any tickets there or anything like that. Then you actually do it and you realize, oh my God, I went to this place and like they're so different there. They actually
Mm.
support. The truth is that same artist from round the way in their city, they probably don't support him either. But you come there, you're a fresh face, you're dope. They respect that, hey, he's doing something, he's traveling, he's touring. You know what I mean? They're gonna take you seriously. And I think a lot of the artists that are down with us and down with the Full Blast roster that have done a bunch of tours, they see those results. They see that happens. And that's why they're about that tour life, because it works. You get the real results that you want to as an artist when you travel. And once I learned that, you know what I mean? My first tour was probably in like 2012. Once I learned
Mm.
that, I was trying to tour as much as possible. You know what I mean? I was going down south a lot. I was going, to like Pennsylvania, up to northern New England, Maine, Vermont, and then started doing West Coast tours. And yeah, man, that's definitely where you're gonna see the most love, make the most sales, catch the most connections to be able to go back and build.
Mm. Mm. Amazing. In your opinion, what's the difference between hip hop and rap? This is a good one. I
I've
couldn't wait
always
to
thought
ask this
this was a funny question when people get all serious about that, right? Like, rap stands for rhythm and poetry.
question.
That's what hip hop is. As far as I'm concerned, they're the same thing. You know what I mean?
Mm.
There's whack
Mm.
hip hop and there's dope hip hop. There's whack rap and there's dope rap. There's rap I like and rap I don't, and same for hip hop. So it is what it is.
Okay, okay.
And yeah,
I like
Tony,
that.
I refrain from that KRS quote. It's been dragged through the mud. It's been stepped on, man. I just try my hardest to not say that. But yes, you are 100% right, my man. Hip hop is what you live. Rap is what you do.
Interesting. Oh, okay. I never heard that one before. What was
Oh,
one of your
here I am
favorite
saying it's stepped on. So there you go.
what was your favorite moment while you was touring? I know you had a lot of great moments, but what was one that kind of stuck out to you, whether it may be a person that you met during the tour, a moment that you shared with another person while you was on the stage? Yeah, just let us know how what that looked like for you.
Man, I've booked over 40 tours. I have had so many amazing experiences. it's hard not to think about Warped Tour, which I was on for 6 years,
I was gonna bring
which was amazing, like thousands of people a day. But I say that because if it were not for Warped Tour, I would not have started Tour for Life, and I would not have
mm,
the people around me that helped me with Tour for Life. Because my brother Brando, who's in the live show in California, whom I met out on Warped Tour, we ran a stage on Warped Tour for many years, an indie music stage, and I was always very inspired and interested and fascinated with the amount of awareness being raised for different causes and different things out there, even the ones I don't necessarily agree with or whatever. You know, there's a lot of animal rights activists and substance abuse, you know, straight edge people, and you know, there's even like the monks out there trying to sell you their books in the parking lot, and like um I was just always like, man, the independence here, you know, the independent thought, the people trying to promote the things that they're passionate about and they believe in, really
mm,
made me want to do something like that. And I was always kind of in the back of my mind, like, what can I do to like help my community, or like, you know, raise awareness on something important? And there's like a lot of things I'm passionate about, and there's a lot of things that I could do that for, but I'm not sure what, you know, and why. And you know, over the years, it kind of just came to me through some unfortunate things, but also just learning about everything in the world and how it's going, is that mental health is, that is where the focus needs to be. You know what I mean? And when I told my brother Brando that I wanted to do this, and I didn't really know how I was going to do it, but this is my thoughts. He
mm.
was 100% on my side and said, I'm there for you. You know what I mean? Let me know what I can do. And then Tour for Life happened over time, over a pandemic. And you know, but
Interesting.
it definitely started, my thought process started on Warped Tour for sure.
But well, for one, I don't want to jump questions here because I'm pretty excited to like how that correlates. So you worked for Warped Tour, you had great experiences there, and then that translated over for tour for life. Am I correct? Am I saying it correct?
Yeah, roundabout. I was never employed by Warped Tour. We ran a totally independent music stage on there that we were
Okay.
very lucky
Okay.
to be able to do,
Interesting.
and it was amazing. And so it
How did you
was
secure this
probably,
opportunity, if you don't mind me asking? Not like you don't have to give great detail because I know that you have your tricks to the trade, most likely that you worked on and crafted over years. But how did that come about in terms of you being able to even get in the warp tour? Was it a work ethic thing? Somebody noticed you? Yeah, please let me know. That's cool, man.
yeah, man. It I always, as an artist, because of my musical style, because I was always like a hip hop artist that had kind of a rock influence, you know, to my music. I'm a drummer as well. I play the drums and rap. You know what I mean? So I have like a energetic live show with live instruments, and Warp Tour was always like a goal of mine because I went to Warp Tour growing up. You know what I mean? I went to I think the first ever Warp Tour, and it was like perfect for me because it was all genres of music. It was rock, it was hardcore, it was punk, it was ska, it was hip hop, and it was evolving. It was getting bigger and bigger every year back then. And by the time I had kind of established myself as a local hip hop artist, I was like, yeah, I need to do Warp Tour. You know what I mean? That's huge. And I a good friend of mine and one of the biggest artists from Connecticut. I don't even consider him a rapper or a hip hop artist, but Chesky Ramos from New Haven, who's an incredible talent. He was on Warped Tour, and he was on this independent stage. And I was seeing all the pictures and the posts and everything, and I hit him up and I was like, "Yo, how'd you get on there?" You know what I mean? And he was like, "Hit up my boy," and I did, and because that's a pretty solid referral. You know what I mean? He's the man. Um, the dude
Mhm.
took a chance on me, you know, and brought me and my homies out there. And I've always had a knack for like organization and kind of getting involved, not just being an artist and showing up and rapping and doing my thing and that's it. Like I was
Mhm.
always helping and I was always trying to organize and I was organized after parties, after the Warped Tour dates at bars in these states, and I was, just helping these guys run shit. You know what I mean? And he the guy who was running it gave me the title of East Coast rep for their stage, and and then just continued to build with me every year, and it was on there for 6 years, and eventually it changed hands to my boy Brando, who I spoke of earlier, and once he was running the show, um, we were lit. You know what I mean? It was just I went from doing just a few dates to doing multiple dates, and then the last tour we did the whole West Coast and the East Coast, and we were booking acts, booking our other independent acts, where we started just going out there as performers. It kind of just evolved, and then then Warped Tour ended. You know what I mean? The last year that they did it, we were on it, and it was the final tour, so it was kind of a big deal. And we did the West Coast and the East Coast, and we booked our own stage. It was actually the Full Blast Summer Tour that year, and I booked like 30 different artists on that tour that year, and it was like the start of when I had just started Full Blast Booking as a legit company. Full
Mm.
Blast used to just be a crew running, you know what I mean? And so now I was like starting to kind of evolve as an organizer in a company, and it was like 3 years between the end of Warp Tour and when I started Tour for Life, I think, something like that.
Interesting. And you said the pandemic kind of gave way to you going full full blast with
Yeah,
full blast booking.
I had fundraised all year, and I had like
Mm.
booked a bunch of dope headliners, big acts, Rakim, Ritz, Brother Ali. I was in the first Tour for Life, and Capadonna, right? And I was ready to announce this tour 2 days prior to me planning on announcing it. COVID hit, and the whole world went psycho,
Mm.
and I had to put this thing off. Then I had to put it off again, and then I had to put it off again, and then finally in the summer, August of 2021, we went out for the first time, and it was it was incredible. It was like, wow, this is the world was ready for it, first of all, because everything had been shut down, and we were just ready. Like, I just kept rescheduling. I kept, I was like, when World opens up, we're ready. We're gonna be ready to go,
Mm.
and we were. So the shows were phenomenal. We had a sellout. We sold out a venue, and then we think we raised over $11,000 that first year, in the time when everybody told me, like, yo, first years, be prepared to fall flat on your face. Be prepared to take a loss. It takes a while to build these things. We went out and raised
Mm.
$11,000 in our first year. Um, so the most important thing that it taught us was, this is amazing. This is helping. We've heard so many stories out there of people, like, why this is important to them, and we were like, yeah, we got to do this again. So we went out the next year. I booked an even better lineup. I booked Ghostface and Chic Luch and Cannabis and Rod Digga and a few others, and it was now picking up steam. You know what I mean? So people were coming to us with even more. Like, it felt like every single conversation I had out on that tour was somebody opening up about, my brother killed himself. My mother killed herself when I was a
Mm.
kid. I walked in on her body. My brother OD'd, and my other younger brother walked in on his body. Really deep, really serious, stories that are, um, really moving and really, like, heavy. And people started saying things like, because of this tour, this happened, or because of this tour, I was able to help this person, or because of this tour, I was, getting myself out of a really dark place, like, I almost killed myself, or
Mm.
whatever, you know what I mean? And I've heard so many of these stories, and they're real, and they hit me hard, you know what I mean? And sometimes I need to, like, decompress after hearing so much of that from people. But the one thing it affirms is that this tour is saving lives, it's helping people, and it's raising a lot of money for a very important organization, because we're partnered with Mental Health Connecticut, and they do
Mm.
amazing things for the community. And it was like, yeah, we got to keep going. And one of the first things MHC did was, with some of the funds that we raised for them, they started a music program. They already had an art program and a writing program and other programming with their, they have several group homes around Connecticut where they have, registrants that they offer, all of daily, programming for.
Mm,
And so we started it. They hired me to run the music program. So it's like all of this is coming together so nicely, and it's making a lot of sense, and it's helping a lot of people in the community. And um, yeah, you know what I mean. Of course, I'm gonna have like a few rappers here and there that are haters. You know what I mean. But like the ratio is like a ton to nothing. You know what I mean? Most people are supporting this movement. They're seeing how legit and how real it is and how effective it is and how dope it is, because we don't just book anybody. I literally get hundreds and hundreds of inquiries, and I listen to the music of every single one of them. You know what I
mm,
mean? And we really only book talented artists. And so people, I think, the people appreciate that too. You know what I mean? Is that there's nothing but talent. There might be 20 artists on these bills, but they're literally all dope. You know what I mean? They're
word.
all dope. So yeah, Tour for Life is the move right now. It's where I've
Mm,
got, all of my eggs in one basket, as they say, because we fundraise for it all year, and the whole entire crew, roster, my whole circle, works so hard, and they're such good people. And some of them are listening now, watching now. And I just want to shout out, King Virtue, um, Gons, Tony Dimes. I want to shout out my assistant Joanne, um, Mickey Bourbon, um,
mm,
my guys Conflict and Paranormal Adam. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. Be Divine, Simple. I could go on and on. And
mm,
nothing but super talented artists who get it, who really get it, who understand what it takes to actually get results in this music thing.
mm.
That's not being selfish and not being a me guy, being a we guy. And that's kind of where we're at with Full Blast right now, and it's working.
Um, I know that you went over it already, um, but I wanted to revisit it as a separate question, and that is, why is bringing awareness to mental health important to you outside of the stories that you've heard? Have you been personally impacted in a way that you could possibly share with our audience today that led to you wanting to choose that cause in specific to move forward with?
Yeah, man. You're not going to find anybody in my shoes who does this, who puts as much time and energy into this thing that doesn't do it for a reason. You know what I'm saying? I definitely have my reasons. Um, Things that have been very, dude, I've been homeless. I've been addicted to drugs. I've been almost killed. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's, you know, without going into detail about any of them, you know what I'm saying? It's like, man, I'm not special. We've all been through shit. We've all got stories to tell, and the point is, we're all coming together in solidarity to kind of like do our thing and express ourselves as artists and as human beings, without having, because it's kind of like an unspoken support, because we know we've all been through stuff. We know we've all got mental health stuff. We know that, our lives that we live aren't easy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
And when we get to be a certain age, all we want is peace. You know what I mean? All you want is peace. You want peace of mind. You want peace in your community. You know what I'm saying? Like I was saying before, you don't want violence no more. You're not going out looking for trouble no more. You just want peace. That's it. And I think that, the stuff that I've been through, it's there, and I think about it all the time, and it's what absolutely inspired and influenced this whole movement. But like I
mm,
said, I'm no different from anybody else. And like I said just before, I hear all of these stories, and the one thing that they tell me is that it could be worse. It could be so much worse. You know what I'm saying? So whatever I've been through, whatever I'm going through, man, I'm in a great place in life. I'm happy as hell right now. Um, I'm so proud of my team. You know what I mean? I'm just proud of myself and where I'm at in life, and just happy. You know what I'm saying? So like, All of the stuff that I've been through that put me in this position, it don't matter, bro. You know what I
Mm.
mean? It's no different than anybody else. You know what I mean? We're just at the end of the day, we're all walking each other home, right? So
Yeah, that was, they were walking each other up. That was funny. That was good. I like that one. What are your thoughts on vulnerability? People expressing that they're not okay. Yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts on that. I feel like in society we feel restricted at times to even let somebody else know what we're going through in the fear that it will be used against us. Um,
oh my God,
and so
yeah,
yeah.
man. That's that is the whole reason why, why we started to think this way and do these things is because we know that like when you come from, where a lot of us come from, you don't talk about your feelings. You know what I mean? You don't say when you're not okay. And because of that, nobody has learned how to manage their mental health. Nobody knows what to do. You know what I mean? And when you break your leg what to do. You know what I'm saying? You go to the hospital. But when you break your emotions, when you break your heart, you'd be surprised how many people really got no answers. You know what I mean? They don't know what to do because they haven't been taught. And that's why I know about like people in this demographic that we target for Tour for Life. They all grew up and they were not taught a thing about mental health. They didn't even know it exists. Most people up until recently thought mental health meant you're crazy. Everybody got a mental health. You know what I'm saying? And they don't. My son's 15, and he has a class in high school about mental health that teaches you about these things. We didn't have that. You know what I mean? Growing up, and now, like I just said, all of us, most of us, have kids. And we want to be good parents. Youth suicide, youth drug abuse, it's all the scariest thing in the world. We want to stay as far away from that as possible. And we
Mhm.
felt like teaching these adults how to manage their mental health because they were never taught will help them be parents. You know what I'm saying? It will help them with whatever they do in life. Because I say this all the time, but you can't say it enough. You can't take care of the things that you love, your kids, your job, all of that until you take care of yourself. And that's why self-care is what we promote fully, 100% with Tour for Life.
I love the way you said that. I think in the pursuit of certain goals, we forget about ourselves. We put ourselves to the side. The hustle mentality uh, is at forefront with a lot of people, especially within this digital age, like we spoke about before.
Right.
Um,
Like so many of my friends now that are in their 30s or 40s, men
mhm,
will tell each other they love each other, just, I love you, bro. You know what I mean? Just like even not even getting off the phone, just like in general. That was something that never happened really earlier in life, between two dudes. You know what I mean? So people are starting to come around to this. It's this like front, it doesn't have to be put on all the time. We're human beings. We could talk about our feelings. We could talk about what we're going through, and we can be open and honest about when we're not all right. You know what I mean? You got to have a tribe. You got to have a support system that you can hit up and say, "Yo, I just want to talk. This is happening to me." You know what I mean? And these are the ideals that we promote with Tour for Life.
mm, mm. I, I wanted to bring it back to you being a father, actually, to start closing it out bit by bit. I saw that you were showing your son online. I like the post, actually, I believe, on how to guerrilla market. Do you think this will stand the test of time moving forward, the skill that you're teaching him in terms of guerrilla marketing and how to go out there and speak to people and connect with people in person over social media, kind of bringing it full circle?
Um, I'll be 100% honest with you, man. I just need help. It's hard to put all them flyers up and have a folder and all this tape and shit. I need somebody to hold some stuff for me, man. You know what I mean? I'm not. I don't think by any by any stretch that my son is gonna grow up to be a street teamer, or even anything like that. It's cool that he has the experience. It's my son and I have a great relationship, and he just wants to hang out with me. You know what I mean? And I just want to hang out with him, and I could use the help. I've brought, yeah, man. Kids are great when you're promoting, because adults will actually listen to what you have to say when you're handing out flyers when a little kid hands it to them. You know what I'm
Yes, they
saying?
will.
Yeah, I've done that too. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta get the word out, man, however you can. But but yeah, Full Blast absolutely agrees still with, physical promotion, flyers. I've just
Mm,
sent flyers out for our show in Brooklyn with 38 Special. I sent like flyers out to like 20 different people the other day at the post office. Because if
wow.
you ask for flyers and you're willing to actually put the energy in, hand the flyers out or putting flyers up, hell yeah, we'll send them to you. You know what I mean? So many people don't do that anymore. It's just posting it on Instagram and that's it. So I
Like
still believe
100%.
in physical promotion.
Mm. Another question that I've seen people kind of duck a little bit, but I wanted to ask you, what has being a father taught you about being a man?
I wasn't a man until I was a father. You know what I mean? It's taught me literally everything. And my father, but we all come from the same you know, energetic wave or whatever. So like yeah, man, I've learned everything about being a father from, from my son. You know what I mean? And being a father is the greatest feeling in the world, or being a mother. It's
Mm,
just having children, raising kids, properly is everything. It's centered, why we do what we do. It's always for the kids. You know what I mean? Always.
amazing. What is the most, because I see that you're developing a community. So I'm wondering, what is the most important aspect about developing a community? Because I'm doing so also.
Support.
Mm,
Support. I mean, you can't. It takes a village. You know what I mean? It like I'll say it again. You can't build anything, whether it's a career, a company, anything, unless you have support. And you can't usually get support unless you give it, unless reciprocate the love. Um,
mm,
that's what it's all about. I learned a long time ago, there's really only two emotions, right? Fear or love. Everything that you can feel is based off one of those two things, right? It's either fear or love. Support is love. So, of those two main emotions, you need love. You know what I mean? That's what you need to grow a community, to preserve a community, to build a community, anything community wise. In order for it to be a thrive, successful kind of situation, you need love.
mm. Amazing. How can we as humans provide safe spaces for one another in our personal lives in terms of allowing the other individual to be vulnerable?
Well, yeah, when they say the term safe space, because that's
Mm,
one thing that we say with Full Blast is that we want to create a safe space for artists to, do what they do. Um, what to me, I think that too many people think that safe means like it's not safe because it's like violent. You know what I mean? I think what makes a safe space safe is there's not people with bad intentions around. You know what I mean? That there's what I was just talking about. There's support and love. That makes it safe because you
mm,
feel comfortable and you trust the people around you that you could be yourself, that you could do your thing because you also trust yourself. You know what I mean? That you're not gonna, you know, do anything weird. You know what I mean? So like,
you crazy.
yeah, all of it just comes down to support, man. And loving each other.
Mm, mm. And last but not least, what does being human mean to you?
Um, it means that you have the obligation to be a part of your community, right? And help people. You know what I'm saying? If you're obviously we're all humans, even if we choose to not be part of a community and help people, we're still technically a human being. Um, but I think that's the difference between human and human being. Humanity,
Mm,
you know what I'm saying, a human body,
Mm.
a meat, right? So like to be human is to have humanity, and going back to the same thing, just having support for your fellow person, and just not not having evil intentions, and again, you can be a human and still be evil, but that humanity part, to me, that's what makes you a human, really. Because
Mm.
that's what I always say about the people who I admire in my life and the people that help me out. I'm always saying this is a solid human being. You know what I mean? Because they have humanity. You know what I'm saying? They're not just a guy. They're a real one, as they say.
Mm. I love the way you ended that. That was nice. Please let people know
Thank
who will be watching. You're welcome, man. I enjoy speaking to you. It's refreshing. Um, Please let people know where they can find you at to continue to support your movement for those who will be watching this interview at a later time.
you. Yeah, Full Blast Booking on all social media platforms. Um, our website is fullblastbooking.net. Um, if anyone cares to check out my artist stuff, it's Deuce Bug, and a few of the homies and I are mobbing out to Pittsburgh tomorrow. It's like a 7-hour drive. We're opening for Cool G Rap and Rakim. So
Mm.
uh, if anybody wants to roll or head out there, that's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, just check us out. We have a whole roster of amazing artists that deserve all the shines. So check them out. You won't be disappointed.
Amazing. Thank you for taking the time to come on today. I appreciate you, Kenny.
Well, thank you for
Hopefully
having me,
we
man.
can work in the future. Yeah, no problem, man. No problem at all. Also, for those who are watching the interview, will be out within the next 24 hours. That's the way I put out my interviews. And I look forward to what the future holds for you and Full Blast Booking, Kenny. All
Thank
right,
you,
I will
man.
be following your journey as y'all continue to build. Have a great night. And remember, everybody, we are all human. Peace.
Peace.